Suspicion is a slow poison. I remember the first time I felt it. That gut-level unease. The kind that doesn't scream, but whispers. It's the tiny shift in eye contact. The slightly too long pause when you ask a simple question. The casual avoidance that, at first, feels like coincidence. Until it doesn't. She started making excuses. My mom's been feeling sick, I'm going to visit. God, I wanted to believe her. Eventually, even the most devoted heart learns to see. Again and again, I kept nodding along. But inside, something coiled tight. I wanted to believe her. But love doesn't blind you forever. The kids always know it was the kids. Honestly, that made me look closer. They weren't trying to get anyone in trouble. They were just talking. Innocent, unfiltered. But they started slipping little comments. Grandma has the best juice. We went there again yesterday. And then one day this hit me like a punch. I overheard my daughter say, "Call it desperation." I was done being passive. Mommy's friend with the loud music car was there again.
What friend?
My wife didn't have friends near her parents' house. Or so I thought. Secrets in the mileage. That night, I opened her car and jotted down the odometer reading. Call it paranoia. A week later, over 400 extra miles. That wasn't just running errands. That was entire chapters of her life being lived without me behind my back. Stuck on the edge of our monitor, with a few scribbled letters and numbers, I didn't confront her. Yet, you ever hear the phrase, never swing, unless you know you'll connect? I wasn't going to miss. Digital dust and dirty truths. The sticky note was innocent enough. AOLP. W Blue J. 77. My heart pounded. I stared at it for hours. Sweaty palms. Throat dry. Eventually, curiosity became resolve. I logged in. What I found ruined everything. Her schedule, a photo. That was all he needed. Her inbox was a goldmine of infidelity. Hundreds of messages back and forth with her college BFF, laughing about her high school ex, mocking his wife, bragging about their midday sex sessions. Suga. His wife is such a blob now. 3 kids, and it shows and staying for 2 to 3 hours before picking the kids back up like nothing ever happened. I printed everything. Not out of rage, out of strategy. I want the truth. All of it. That's when Ron came in. Ron was ex-cop turned pie. One of those guys who looked like he'd rather fight you than greet you. You want full recon? He asked. No judgment in his tone. Yeah, I replied. I want to know everything she's doing when she's not here. He took the emails. 1 week later, he returned with the full horror story. Photos, timelines, details. She was dropping off the kids at her parents', driving to a cheap motel off the interstate, meeting Bob.
The fire is lit. The rage I felt wasn't the loud kind. It was cold, too precise. I remembered my childhood, the pain, my parents' affairs, the shattered birthdays, the screaming matches. I swore I would never do that to my kids. So I went to a divorce lawyer. We'll play this smart, he said. Married, 3 kids, lived in a house owned by the in-laws. You've already got the hammer. Now we wait for the right moment to drop it. Who is Bob? Ron delivered again. Bob was a VP of sales for a company owned by his father-in-law. It was almost too perfect. He had built his life on 3 things: his job, his marriage, and his home. And I was about to remove all 3. One perfect day we synchronized the attack. At 10:13 a.m., she was served with divorce papers at her workplace. Her face went pale, then red, then pale again. Enclosed were copies of the printed emails, PI reports, and a notarized letter stating I had filed for full custody with cause. At 10:30 a.m., Ron knocked on Bob's front door. His wife answered. She was carrying a toddler on one hip. Ron introduced himself, told her he had information she needed to see. Her world imploded in real time. I wasn't there, but Ron told me her hands trembled the entire time she flipped through the evidence. The downfall: Bob's wife didn't just leave him, she annihilated him. Emptied their bank account that afternoon, took the kids, moved in with her parents, filed for divorce the next morning. Cops showed up. Restraining order. Violated it a week later, got hauled to jail in cuffs. The cherry on top: her father fired Bob on the spot. VP of sales? Not anymore. And since Daddy owned the house too, Bob got evicted within 72 hours. No job, no wife, no home. Like co-workers who once had history but now only share a break room. And when he showed up one night, drunk and screaming, her brother broke his nose. Fragmented. Bob's life didn't fall apart like glass. It splintered like bone, messy, painful, and slow. Word spread fast. The guy who cheated on the boss's daughter and got crushed. He was publicly humiliated. Lost all credibility in his career. No one would hire him. Last I heard, he moved to states over. Probably changed his name. Maybe trying to start over. But no matter where he went, he knew. He got outplayed me? I moved on. My ex-wife and I kept things civil for the kids' sake. No shouting, no drama, just a silence. When the kids turned 18, I cut the cord. I don't speak to her. I don't hate her. She's just a name on the family tree now. But sometimes, when I see a certain brand of cheap motel out of the corner of my eye, I smile. Because I remember what happens when you cheat on the wrong man. Some people think revenge is about rage. But real revenge, it's about timing, evidence, silence. And when it lands, it doesn't just hurt. It ends careers, ends marriages, ends illusions. And the best part, you never have to raise your voice. If this story left you stunned, hit that like button and tell us in the comments, what's the most savage revenge you've ever seen or would want to pull off? And don't forget to subscribe, because karma doesn't forget, and neither do we. When the dust settles, the silence is deafening. You'd think the day after everything exploded would feel victorious. And in a way it did. But what no one tells you about revenge is that the silence that comes after is almost louder than the war itself. That next morning, my phone didn't ring. My ex didn't come home in a rage. She didn't beg, scream, cry, threaten. Nothing. She just vanished emotionally. I think she knew she had lost every ounce of leverage. She didn't even ask to explain, because there was nothing she could say. A home divided. We lived in the same house for 3 weeks after she got served. Not by choice, just logistics. She slept in the guest room. I slept in ours. There were no fights, no yelling, just cold civility. Like to strangers in a museum of a life that used to mean something. The kids didn't fully understand what was happening, but they could feel it. The tension was so thick. I swear even the air felt heavier. At one point, my 6-year-old came into the room and whispered, "Did mommy do something bad?" I didn't answer. I just held him tighter and said, "It's not your fault. None of this is your fault." Bob's last call 1 week after his wife kicked him out. Bob called my house. My home phone. Caller ID said blocked. I answered. There was a long pause before I heard the voice, low, shaky. "Hey, look, I know you don't want to hear from me. He trailed off. Then came the kicker. You didn't have to destroy my life, man. It didn't have to go like this. I didn't say anything at first. I just let the silence stretch. Then, calmly, I said, "You slept with my wife while my kids waited for her at their grandparents' house. You think there wouldn't be a cost?" He stammered, said something about how it wasn't serious, how they just needed each other. "You needed a motel." I snapped, "And now you need a new life. Goodbye, Bob." The judge even added behavioral conditions based on patterns of parental neglect during infidelity-related absences. The house, the car, the accounts, and I hung up. He never called again. The courtroom Cold War. Divorce court wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, clinical. My lawyer submitted the PI reports, the email logs, the testimony. Her lawyer barely tried to refute it. There was no leverage, no argument. She got 50/50th custody, but not without strict clauses. I won almost everything else. And in court, for the first time in over a month, my ex-wife looked at me and whispered, "I didn't think you'd actually go through with it." I turned to her, eyes calm, and replied, "You didn't think I was watching." Bob's life reduced to ashes. I kept tabs. Not obsessively, but out of curiosity. Here's what I learned over the next 6 months. Bob tried to freelance in sales, but nobody in the region would touch him after the way he burned his old company. His ex-wife filed for full custody and won, citing emotional instability and inappropriate contact. He was arrested again, this time for showing up to his kids' school without permission. Another violation of the restraining order. The last time I heard his name, someone said he was working construction 3 states over. Not that there's anything wrong with that kind of work, but for a guy who strutted around in a tailored blazer, bragging about closing deals and banging someone else's wife, it was the most poetic collapse I could imagine. The emotional fallout no one sees. People think revenge is about winning, but it's really about control, reclaiming it, pulling yourself back from the edge of helplessness and saying, "No, I get to decide how this ends." But here's the truth. Even when justice is served, the scar remains. You still lie awake some nights replaying the moment it all started to crack. You still flinch when your phone pings late at night. You still question, could I have done more? Seen it earlier? Saved the kids from this? And then you remember, you didn't cause the pain, but you made damn sure it didn't go unpunished. The only thing that mattered. To respond to betrayal not with rage but with consequence. My kids are grown now. They've got good heads on their shoulders. We've talked honestly about what happened back then. Not the gory details, but the truth. They know their mom made a mistake, and they know I protected them. I showed them what it means to have boundaries, to hold your ground without screaming. My daughter once told me, "I never understood why you didn't yell. But now I get it. You let her wreck herself." She's right. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. Just gather the facts, set the trap, and let them walk straight into it. If I could go back, would I do anything differently? Honestly, no. Would I rather it never happened? Of course. But once the lie entered our marriage, this ending was inevitable. All I did was ensure I didn't go down with her. And I made damn sure that the man who shattered our home learned what it feels like to lose everything he took for granted.